Hi guys, so thank you for 100 subscribers. It really means a lot. Thank you very much for that. So for this special, I'm gonna read Thor number 300. This was recommended to me by a viewer. Um, yeah, sorry it took so long to make, or release this video, but it's a very long comic. It's very long, but I read the first few pages. I did like a bit of a test recording. Um, but yeah. I haven't read the other Thor stories in the 70s and 80s, so I don't really know too much. I read the Thor stories in the 60s, but so Stanley presents the epic climax of the most momentous Thor saga of all time. It began when Odin, Lord of Asgard, plucked out his right eye in exchange for knowledge of the future. Passing through the fiery well of wisdom, the eye grew to monstrous proportions and took a life of its own. Months later, Thor, son of Odin, approached the eye for his own answers when he suspected his divine father had, in some distant past, betrayed the earth. Now, on a barren world, the Thunder God learns as this strange oracle unfolds the vision of Thor's long-forgotten past. Yeah, because there's a celestial there, just suppose. And while the mighty Thor broods dimensions distant on Earth, a far mightier being intimately woven into this vast cosmic tapestry stands upon twin pylons near a Peruvian temple. He is Eshem, of the fourth celestial host, and were the Odinson to know that this day the giant space god will pass judgment on the planet Earth that Thor has sworn to defend, he would rouse himself from the eye's recollections. But alas, he knows not. So Chapter 1, Twilight of the Gods. The end of the tale is near, Thunder God. Behold once more your previous mortal self, Siegfried, on the banks of the river Rhine. So yeah, I was reading, so it says Thor, like how Thor became Donald Blake in the comics, like he was reincarnated into, like a human form of Donald Blake. Apparently he was reincarnated into, or not like, he had his human body was, this guy named Siegfried in the past. It is the day after the bold hero contested the nobleman Gunther for the hand of his sister Guntra, a contest that ended in an uneasy truce. As shown in last issue, Jim. I think that's Jim Shooter. But while he searches for game to take to his bride-to-be, other maidens capture his attention. "Oh, pretty Siegfried, Rhine maidens," has preluded the great hunter. "For shame, we will show you where game hides." "And what must I do in return, pray tell?" "We but just desire one thing, the golden ring on your finger." "No, this ring is far too precious to be idly traded." "Foolish Siegfried, doom will befall anyone who wears the accursed ring. Only the waters of this river can cancel the curse." "I fear no curse. I am a dragon slayer. What threat are mere mouthlings?" "Then there is no hope for you. Farewell, doomed one." "Foolish water nymphs! What could possibly harm a mighty warrior like myself? Although in truth their words do resemble those spoken by the dragon, for whom I have won the ring. What? A horn sounds. Gunther and Dwarvish Hagen, what do you want? I thought you wished never to lay eyes on me after yesterday's disagreement." I have come to make amends, Siegfried. It is unseemly to be the enemy to my sister's future husband. You have learned, then, that I was unjustly accused of compromising your intended bride? Yes, 'twould seem 'was all a misunderstanding. Anyway, I now know you did not to break your oath to me. Would you care to dine with us? I see you are without a catch. My thanks, Gunther. Game seems to have avoided me today, as if I reeked of death. Even the greatest of hunters have unlucky spells. No matter, Hagen should have our bird roasted ere long. May I interest you in some ale while we wait, good Siegfried? In truth, frustration makes one thirsty. Yes, ale. Although my half-brother Gunther has gone back on our plan to slay Siegfried this day, I have not. My father Alberich crafted the Rhine-gold ring to give him power over the gods themselves, and when it was stolen, he placed a curse upon it. Now it must be mine. Siegfried, look, two ebon birds fly from the brush, ravens. 'Twould appear they caw as if they would speak. Did you not once claim to understand the language of birds? Aye, once, but now I fear I am out of tune with nature. I hear nothing but crowing. In a moment of despair, the maiden Brunhilde revealed that this strutting fool was invulnerable, except for his back, which is now turned towards me. They turn to fly away. It must be an omen of some sort. Die, Siegfried, in the name of my father. You shall perish for your righteousness. Urgh. Hagen, we agreed not to. I am betrayed by a dwarf. The maidens were right. This ring is cursed. Breaking that spear in half that impales him, Siegfried lunges for his murderer, only to die in the striving. He collapses to the moist earth, soaking it with his blood. You slew him! Was it not enough that we tricked him into giving up his true love Brunhilde to me? Did we also have to cheat him of his very life? Why? My reasons are my own, dear brother, not for speaking. Farewell, hero. Though you died ignobly, I shall see you receive a Viking's funeral. Forbidding his half-brother to go near Siegfried's falling form, Gunther hoists the hero onto his steed and leads him back to the castle. He then travels on ahead to break the news to his sister. Dear Gertrude, your beloved is dead, slain by a wild beast. A beast named Hagen. But as all you present are my witness, I shall not let so base an act go unavenged. I hereby sever the bloodline between us, Gnome, by your death. On the contrary, squeamish oaf, by yours. Look. Gunther, no, not a husband and a brother lost in one day. Guards, seize the little murderer. No, they won't. Once I have the Rhine-gold, you will all be in my power. But as the dwarf reaches for the ring, Siegfried's lifeless fist clenches about it defiantly. It will take more than a dwarf to win it this day. And as the late lord's vassals overpower the squealing Hagen, Odin's erstwhile Valkyrie Brunhilde enters. No, no, please, I must have the ring. I deserve it. Siegfried? Dead, stabbed in the back. For let it be known that was his one fatal flaw. His death is as much as my doing as the dwarves. Oh, Siegfried, It was not meant to end this way. Our love was to endure, our lives to endeavor. But now, through the insidious acts beyond our taming, the dream is lost. There is but one recourse. Guards, let great oaken logs be carried to the banks of the Rhine and set afire. This hero's body must be consecrated in a blazing funeral pyre. And so, we were to be wed, my darling. Now our dowry is but death. Let the flames in which you found me deliver us. Oh, my faithful steed, seek your formal master. Let us all become as one in the golden halls of Valhalla. Siegfried, I come. Odin, take us. So ends your previous mortal incarnation, a victim of base treachery. Then I failed at Odin's very purpose for granting me a human form. I failed to deliver the Rhine-gold ring unto Odin, the ring he was by oath unable to acquire himself. True, though you never knew that was your destiny. But what of Odin? How did he greet these grim tidings? And how is it I live on? See for yourself, Odin's son. In his castle in Asgard, the brooding All-Father waits in solitude. His ravens Hugin and Munin alight on his stooped shoulders and relate what they have witnessed. I am undone by a dwarf. All my efforts to free the gods of the nibbling curse that I, myself, have brought upon us, have met with dismal defeat. Hope is fled. In my arrogance I have brought upon us the twilight of the gods, and all because long ago I coveted the gleaming Rhine gold, fearing its power over gods and men. Passing to his palace window, the Lord of Asgard lifts his troubled eyes to await the arrival of the flames from the funeral pyre below. He spies it, arcing across the sky, a sentient fireball. The spheres of flames draws closer, ever closer, finally bursting upon his balcony. Stepping forward are two of Odin's Valkyries, bearing the lifeless forms of Brunhilde and Siegfried. Worthlessly, the shield maidens offer their bodies to their lord. Go now, Valtruta, Grimgirda. Leave a father to his sorrow and his shame. Thou shalt remember nothing of what transpired this day. Yes, Lord Odin. And now, my blood son and goddaughter, because thou both art dearer to me than my own life, I grant unto thee, thou shalt live, even if Odin must die. With all his immortal heart and soul, the All-Father channels his Odin force into the hovering bodies before him, trying to rekindle the divine spark within them. Finally, he stops, swooning from the exertion, light-headed, feverish. But when next his sweat-laden eyelids open, he sees Thor and the Valkyrie, alive again. And at his feet there lies the accursed Rhine-gold, likewise restored to its true form. You live, my children. Would that my heart could rejoice. Now I send thee from here, never again to think upon anything that happened in your mortal guises. The knowledge of Odin's folly must be his alone. It is time for the father to atone for his sins of avarice and pride. Slowly, deliberately, Odin reaches for the ring of power, resigned at last to take the curse upon himself, as he knew in his heart of hearts he one day would. Mustering a vestige of his dwindling strength, he snaps the Rhine-gold circlet in half. Then, stripping off his godly raiment, he staggers down his private path to Yggdrasil, the world ash, the tree of life, the cosmic axis. It is here he will seek penance, struggle to expiate his overwhelming guilt through such suffering as even an immortal might not bear, and share his terrible burden with none. Pressing the cold tip of his sacred spear Gungnir to his naked abdomen, Odin throws himself against it, piercing his imperial flesh, impaling himself. The wound, not unlike that recently occurred by his mortal son, will hasten his end. Then Hugin and Munin take his wrists in their powerful claws, bearing him aloft, and nail him to the Rhine-gold ring halves, to a branch of Yggdrasil. Now, my faithful ravens, thou shalt still sit on my shoulders nevermore. Get thee gone, and take Gungnir from my sight as well. Perhaps thou shalt find one worthier to wield the spear of heaven. Farewell. At their lord's command, the ravens take flight, leaving Odin to his self-determined fate. Odin hangs, pinioned by a power greater than his own, his remaining strength oozing from him in rivulets of red nourishing the cosmic tree. In his ineffable agony, Odin prays to the elder gods who spawned him, that a sacrifice will be enough to stave off the final day of reckoning for the gods, the day of Ragnarok. Despite the agony of his crucifixion, Odin sought torn to you, his beloved son, where in the depths of his delirium he views your time-lost clash with Hercules, prince of far-off Olympus. Thou has never been one to avoid trouble, thinks Odin, but then again, neither is he. Odin, my dear, can you still recognize me? Over the long, painful days that followed, Odin dwells on all those he had ever loved, silently bidding them farewell. Then, on the 9th day, when the Allfather has become too weak to even do that, he is approached by an emerald-cloaked woman. I have watched with sadness the starry state of affairs your ego has brought upon you. I appreciate your attempt at redemption through self-sacrifice, but I bid you reconsider your plan to hang grotesquely till your death goddess claims you. Observe, if you will, the shadow that passes overhead. Slowly, tortuously, the dying sky god lifts his head to the heavens to behold a ship of some sort, passing between the sun and the earth. A gargantuan vessel it is, whose size seems to be that of the moon itself, and whose purpose is as impenetrable as death. He has not uttered a single word on the 9 days and nights he has hung, but now through some parched lips, Odin speaks. Hold, Verdurin one, what is the meaning of yon starcraft? If you would know of it, my love, you would have to save yourself. She slips back into the billowing mist that brought her, leaving the splayed figure to consider her words. Suddenly, filled with vitality and a new sense of purpose, beyond any he has ever known, the Allfather summons every vestige of his almost depleted might, and wrenches himself free of the Rhine-gold restraints. His atonement has ended. He falls from Yggdrasil like a broken twig, the ring halves dropping beside him. Dumph. Numbly, the Lord of Asgard lay choking in the dirt, too weak to stir, gathering strength from without, until he is able to rise. Then, tucking the ring fragments into his breech, he staggers back to the gleaming city he has forsaken. Arriving unnoticed in his palace, he seeks counsel with Mimir, the all-knowing well of fire. Ah, Odin, you are looking well this day. Spare me your wet and infernal flame. I have little appetite for it. I have seen the approach of enormous skycraft, alien in form, unknown in purpose. I would know of its significance. Were I to tell thee what I knew of it, 'twould but torment thee. Spare thyself further torture, Odin. Tell me, Mimir, or I shall smite thee with my sacred spear. Thy ravens have hid Gungnir. I fear it not, yet I will tell thee. The craft holds beings from beyond all known space, who first visited Midgard long before our race came to be. They come to judge the worth of a world. Aliens! Would they presume to judge the spear that spawned both gods and men? Never, not while my breath remains with me. For a day, Lord Odin dwells upon Mimir's words, recouping his lost strength. Then his dour meditations are interrupted by a certain impertinent son. Hail, noble sire! Father, I have met an immortal not of Asgard, who tells me of a second realm filled with others of his ilk. We have agreed to a match, his Olympus against Asgard. By what right didst thou commit such an act? Your father did not notice you did not notice your father's faraway countenance and wan complexion as he bade. There shall be no such battle. But, thanks to Loki, god of evil, you soon find yourself pitted against the scions of Olympus on a timeless plain. And while the battle rages, your sire steps through the mists of time to meet with Zeus, lord of Olympus. The two sky fathers face one another, exchanging worlds of meaning in a single glance. Then they part. Later, at God War's end, you seek audience with your father again, to learn why, despite your seeming victory. Or yeah, I should have said, as shown in Thor Annual number 5, 1976, Jim. Yeah, sorry about that. Naught was gained by conquest. I didst meet with Zeus himself during thy war. 'Twas agreed there was a lesson both our lands need to learn. Men believe in gods, their own gods. 'Twas ever thus. Greece cannot be won by such as us. It doth exist for the Olympians. But you would have none of your father's words. You stalked away to seek newer lands to conquer. Had you but taken notice of the golden playing pieces upon Odin's games table, you might have a true notion of the All-Father's true preoccupations. And Chapter 2, Whatever Gods There Be. I might go on a break, or I'll read the next little bit. Okay, there's the credits. So Mark Grunwald, Ralph Macchio story, Keith Pollard, Gene Day art, Joe Rosen letters, Carl Gafford colors, Jim Salacrup editor, art Jim Shooter editor-in-chief. So there's all the gods. So there's Zeus, and he has the red hair. I think I saw Buddha somewhere. Oh, there's like a bunch. Buddha's right there, I think. There's a bunch of them. But, behold, Odin's son, and see for yourself what the chessmen represent. The playing pieces bear the likeness of foreigners. Only Lord Zeus is familiar to me. Who might these figures be? What gods are these? You see, gathered together for the first time this auspicious day, a millennium ago, Odin's counterparts, the numerous chief gods of earth, the godheads of all other mighty pantheons, sky fathers all. For when Odin and Zeus had met, they made plans to assemble a council of godheads, to decide what action to take against the threatening star beings. They dispatch their messengers throughout the myriad myth realms to summon the exalted godfathers of all earth legends. And there in the clouds round the celestial axis, adjacent to each of their realms, the mightiest assemblage of the mortal worshipping deities convenes. I see our summons were well received, Zeus. All our brethren present. Thou art the last to arrive, Asgardian. Then let us begin. My fellow Sky Lords, the very sphere which has borne us is in grave danger from enigmatic invaders from beyond. We must act in conjunction to preserve that precious orb, which is both our spiritual sustenance and our dominion. There have been other celestial visitations. Extraterrestrials have abounded on our world. Why is this one so dire? The aliens have servitors, strange humans masquerading as my Inca brothers, who have built a temple in my domain. I have observed them, and so learned. Their celestial masters intend to judge mankind, and if they deem it unworthy, destroy it. And were mankind to perish, so would we, its gods, for our destinies, as we doth know, are intertwined in ways even beyond the powers of oracles to unravel. Hence, I propose we take action. Aye, action, though content these centuries past to allow my worship on earth to dwindle. Still I do care for those short-lived beings who mock the mortal plane. What do you suggest we do, Odin? I propose we choose among ourselves a delegation to meet with the space creatures upon their arrival. We will make known to them, through forcible means if necessary, that no off-worlders shall usurp our common domain, else they invoke the wrath of all the gods of earth. What say ye? The response is a thunderous chorus of eyes, whose deafening reverberations echo through the halls of eternity. I am astounded that there be so many gods, so many pantheons I never knew existed. Why has Odin never spoken of them? Knowing of his people's warlike nature, it would have not been wise, Odin's son. While your father convened with his peers, you went to Earth, searching for new lands to conquer. This brought you into contact with the Celestials' Earth agents, the Eternals, with whom you shared many adventures. So, Thor Annual number 7, 1978, Jim. Then you left for Asgard with the memory of all that occurred to you in Peru, cleansed by the ever-cautious Eternals. And as you left, oblivious of your stay with the Eternals, the Celestials' monstrous mothership silently descends to the planet's surface. Your departure means nothing to the star-spanning Celestials, who step from their vessel through screens of immense energy. They stride the world imperiously, seeming unaware of their awestruck servitors. Yet not the slightest thought of a single Eternal slips past celestial perceptions. Wordlessly, their leader Erishem directs his fellows to their appointed task. The purpose of the third host is cultivation and inspection, and each of the 10 Celestials in their expedition has his own special responsibility. His orders given, Erishem mounts the ceremonial pylons, his purpose simply to monitor and observe. No sooner has the host leader assumed his position that his huge armored head lifts slightly to see a sudden, unnatural massing of storm clouds above. Thunderheads part as a surging chariot drawn by Odin's eight-legged steed and carrying the envoys of the gods, Vishnu, Odin, and Zeus, descends to the Peruvian plain. Boldly they touch down upon the hot sand, dwarfed by the 2,000-foot Titan. They dismount. "Hear us, towering one. We three represent the gods of earth. We bear thee this message. Our kind stands united in its defiance of your designs on our world." Moments pass, and the giant remains silent, offering no response to Odin's strident proclamation. And then, "Hold, immortals! 'Tis one of their lackeys emerging from the yon temple. 'Twould appear that the celestials deign not to speak with us directly. I bid you peace, gods of earth. I am Ajax of the race of men called Eternals. I shall intercede between you and my mammoth masters. We are Earth's native gods, birthed in the very biosphere of this world. We would know of thy alien master's purpose, and if it displeases us, we are here to thwart it." "I'm afraid that's impossible. These aliens, as you call them, have a right to carry out their mission on Earth. For it was they who eons ago shaped mankind's genetic destiny, before any of you had come into being. They have returned to cultivate the seed sown millennia past, and I would advise against your interference." "Thou do taunt us, Eternal. Away! Odin, Vishnu, come, the time for talk is past." "Aye, direct thy energies through my sword." The wrath of the gods is carried into a single searing bolt that strikes with power enough to send a world reeling from its orbit. Arishem stands impassively, unmoving, unaffected. When the futile bombardment ceases, the mightiest of the Celestials turns from the angry immortal gnats at his feet and unleashes his own. The three gods pale as one, for in their mind's eyes they behold the gateways to their homes, Asgard, Nirvana, and Olympus, consumed by a celestial-created conflagration. But instants before irreparable damage is done, Arsim's onslaught ends and his head lowers. Almighty Arishem could have destroyed the passages between this sphere and your godward realms, cutting off all gods from Earth forever. And this he will do, unless you three swear on behalf of all your kind not to interfere in celestial affairs for the next millennium. The three representatives exchange solemn glances of defeat. The giant seems beyond challenge, his terms beyond questioning. And so the three gods of Earth bow down before Arishem of the third host, pledging that none of their kind will impede the celestials' progress for the coming millennium. And the bitter vow they make this summer's day, 1,000 years agone, binds all the other gods of Earth as well. "Then Odin did not betray the earth by bending his knee to the celestials, as it once did seem. He sought only to save it through delay." "Yes, for he knew that if the gods fought the celestials that day, it might have meant the end for their kind. But after 1,000 years in which to make preparations, the odds may tip towards Earth's pantheons." Returning to Asgard, Odin bids the greatest craftsman of his realm to forge for him an unequaled suit of arms, not unlike that worn by the Celestials. Upon its completion, Odin takes the armor to his fellow Sky Lords, each of whom bestows on it a fraction of their godly might, making it virtually all-powerful. So when the Celestials return, the gods will have a champion to battle for them, an invisible giant slayer known as the Destroyer. So that's why the Destroyer was made, okay? Yeah, he does look like a celestial, or yeah, he does look like a celestial though. But by the home of Heimdall, so the celestials are the dread menace, the future menace that Odin constructed the destroyer to combat. Sorry about that bad voice I did for Thor. Since first I beheld the armor, I pondered its true purpose. When the third host had finished their survey and left, Odin dispatched the destroyer to Earth, sesquiring it in a special temple of his own construction. There on a land called Vietnam, it would await its summons. Thor number 118, Jim. Yeah, I read that one, I read that one, the destroyer. Then Lord Odin returns to his palace in Asgard, where he searches for a special spacious chamber in which to undertake the last of his important tasks for the millennium. In his gauntleted hands are the mystical power scepter, fashioned by Odin's chief wizard for the purpose of channeling the All-Father's might, and the dread Rheingold ring halves. Placing them before him, Odin loses a magical ray of transmutation, and with a burst of brilliance he unlocks the ring's very essence. The regal one steps back, shutting his aged eyes against the glare as the shimmering Rheingold assumes a new form, new dimensions, according to his will. And when the All-Father again looks, the change is complete, and the Rheingold has been transformed into a huge, magnificent sword, which, as Odin decrees, will henceforth be known as the awesome Oversword of Asgard. I think that was an Ultimate Alliance. I think I've seen that somewhere before, the big sword. But the realm eternal is now safe from the ring's cosmic curse. So long as the sword remains within its protective sheath, only one as powerful as Odin, who can purge himself of the curse through the rite of self-sacrifice, can wield such a staggering power without rending the fabric of infinity. And Odin will see to it that every Asgardian knows of the Odin sword's power, that whoever draws it from its scabbard will bring the nibbling curse upon himself, causing the very heavens to tremble around him. A millennium from now, when circumstances permit, perhaps he will be able to bequeath the curse of the Odin sword to the Celestials. So it says the Odin sword is cursed. Or maybe Thor's, I don't know. See, I never read the other comics. Well, these other, the 70s ones, I haven't read them. Or the 80s. Thus ends the tale, Odin's son, a millennium agone. Now you know the awesome truth behind your father's lust for the Rheingold, and the price he paid for it. You know of your previous human incarnations, and how they perished, and you know the nature of Odin's pact with the star-spanning Celestials. So essentially, he needs the Rheingold to fight the Celestials. Okay. Ay, thou hast showed me much. To know that I have been a fool for, accusing Odin of betraying Earth in the past. No, wait, Thunderer, I do not wish. 'Tis time I made amends. Come. His whirling mallet spins madly, opening a dimensional vortex. Thor bounds through it, carrying the startled eye of Odin, as it pulls further from its own life-giving domain. The eye shrinks to its original proportions. Thou shalt return with me, eye. Mayhap I need thy counsel for what may lie ahead. The Thunder God's mighty hammer, Mjolnir, draws him unerringly through the void until he glimpses the spires of the realm eternal. Asgard, 'tis good to be home, but how long have I been absent in the eye's misty world? Mayhap it can tell me. Nay, it doth be shrunken and lifeless. Its youthfulness hath ended. I must... What is this? Heimdall, guardian of the Rainbow Bridge. I did not espy him collapsing upon Bifrost. his breast unmoving, his heart be still, as in death. But what power could slay the ever-vigilant Heimdall, and not leave a wound on his body? And if he be slain, how fares the rest of Asgard? 'Tis the same everywhere, e'en in the palace imperial. Not a figure stirs, not the slightest movement do I see. What dire calamity hath befallen all those I hold dear? I must seek the throne room. If answers there be, 'tis there I shall find them. Father! He answers not. Though he be seated upon the throne, still he doth make no sound or motion. And at his feet, Sif! Nay, not thee too, my beloved, not thee too. Strange, while I detect no life in Odin, his posture doth suggest alertness. He is unlike the others, rigid, erect. That doth only steepen the mystery, not lighten the sorrow. It's possible that while I communed with the Eye, the true Ragnarok, the end of the gods, at long last hath come? If so, it hath taken form in a matter none could have foretold. But hold, there be one in Asgard whose knowledge doth surpass that of Odin himself, Mimir, he of the fiery will. Like a god possessed, the desperate thunderer hastens from the silent throne room, racing through the castle's hollowed walls, or halls, pausing but once in startled disbelief. The Odin sword, gone, scabbard as well. But should the sword be drawn by an enemy to save Odin, the curse of the Rhine gold will descend upon Asgard. That must have transpired, and mine eyes beheld the result of the dread nibbling curse when I first set foot upon the Rainbow Bridge. What enemy of Asgard could have done this? More deeply disturbed than before, Thor storms into the chamber of the Well of Wisdom. Mimir, attend! The son of Odin doth coming knowledge of what hath befallen Asgard, while I was away. Mimir! Closer, Asgardian, I can barely speak. What? Thy flame hath shriveled till this little more than a flicker. With the gods dead, my life cannot be sustained. The Eye, Odin's son, I crave its immortal essence. 'Twill stave off mine own end. Ah, now hearken to the words of Mimir. Odin hath taken back the life force he once gave to Asgard, absorbed it into himself, and then gone to earth to challenge the Celestials as a god amongst gods. The time hath come. Oh, Odin, okay. But Odin's body be on his throne. How hath he confronted the menace without leaving Asgard? 'Twas not his body which hath left fool, 'twas his soul. Beard of Ymir, dost thou mean Odin has entered the Destroyer? At that instant on earth, the Andes mountains trembles with each impossibly long stride he takes, possessed of the spirit of Odin and all the Asgardians. The awesome Avenger has grown enormous to contain the god force which animates him. And of all who have ever walked the earth, he alone can challenge the celestial invaders. For only he is the dread Destroyer. And hanging from his side, the Oversword of Asgard. Yes, this story's really cool. I love this story. It's a really cool story. The gargantuan dome looms before the gleaming giant, dwarfing even his massive frame. On countless worlds have such barriers arisen, wherever the Celestials have set down, and always these cyclopean structures proven impenetrable. But never has this strange enclosure faced the onslaught of the Destroyer. His visor snaps low over his forehead, as though the godlike gladiator amasses enormous amounts of elemental energy, enough to breach the opaque obstruction that would keep him from his destiny. The destroyer prepares to unleash his most mind-staggering weapon, against which nothing has ever prevailed, the power of total disintegration. Like a blowtorch put to butter, the blazing ray vaporizes the alien substance instantly, leaving a gaping hole through which the destroyer may pass. And even as he steps within, he is unknowingly followed by another group entity. The uncanny Unimind, the combined consciousness of the Celestials' former servitors, the Eternals, manifests into a single being, whose purpose is to aid the Destroyer in his struggle. So the Eternals broke away from the Celestials. Okay. The metallic Goliath draws the Odin sword. He is the ultimate knight in shining armor, ready to do battle against the ultimate threat. The assembled fourth celestial host. Hargon the Measurer, Tefral the Surveyor, Nezar the Calculator. Looks like he has like a smile there. Like a smile, I don't know. Gamion the Gatherer, Jemiah the Analyzer, Esson the Searcher. He was in Guardians of the Galaxy, this one, with the staff. Oneg the Prober, Zeron the Tester, and presiding over the dramatic tableau, Erishem the Judge, on whose huge hand is imprinted the formula for Earth's annihilation should its people be deemed unworthy by the Celestials at the completion of their 50-year stay. For half a century shall Ersherm stand, his unfathomable mind gathering impressions from an entire planet of living beings, assimilating them, pondering them, and finally passing his unrevocable verdict: life or death. Yet on all those many worlds where the Celestials have conducted their life experiments, never has a race proven itself deserving enough to survive. Thus, Erishem's decree has ever been death. But Earth has twin champions unlike any others conceived by the cosmos, which will not wait for the dreaded decision to be reached decades hence. And so, here on a sand-swept Peruvian plain, the fate of the Earth will in moments be known. So, Chapter 3, Day of Alpha. The Celestials face their adversity with equanimity, for never has their will been thwarted, never the challenger not been crushed. The Odin sword glows golden with the enchanted power of the long-dormant Rhine-gold for which it was forged. And not in all life or legend has the merging of weapon and wielder been more perfect, the unity more complete. Gamion and Jeremiah release their own latent energies, seemingly lashing out at the destroyer in the initial test of strength. But it is the Unimind toward which the space gods have aimed. Twin blasts strike as one, and the levitating entity spills into its component elements. The limp figures of the Eternals, who drop soundlessly to the ground and lay still, while beyond the barrier, the mighty Thor streaks earthward through a rent in space formed by his matchless mallet. Flames of Surtur, the Celestial's dome, the same unyielding barrier which did once resist even the repeated pounding of mine own hammer, Molnir, has been sundered. Then my father hath preceded me here, for only the destroyer could accomplish what mine Uru mallet could not. What be this? Eternals, spoiled as if it is in death, victims mayhap of the celestial masters. Treachery. But where be there the destroyer, but grown larger than a storm giant to contend with its foes? But can even one possessed of the almighty Odin force stand against those who may lay waste to a universe? As if in response to Thor's unspoken query, the destroyer strikes, slashing off the arm of Nezar the Calculator, which drops like a felled redwood tree. Inwardly, the son of Odin smiles. The loss of a limb means nothing to Nezar. Already the air crackles with the sound of the arm's regeneration. The destroyer pauses, weighing his next move, then again draws upon the unseen elemental energies as only he is able. His eyes are lit by inner fires whose origins we may only guess at. The power of ultimate disintegration is again unleashed in a single withering beam, only to be passively deflected by a casually upraised celestial hand. The mammoth warrior is buffeted by a celestial barrage which pierces his allegedly indestructible armor and sends him reeling back, weakened, forced to fight like a wounded beast. The battle goes badly, and should the destroyer perish, so too might Odin and all of Asgard who have given him life. This must not be. Thor must enter the fray himself, bringing down upon the Celestials the raging storm, before which they shall have been swept like fallen leaves. Crack. The dark clouds lower over the gladiators as mighty Thor directs his fury towards the ever-increasing tempest, with no more an effect on the Celestials than a mild spring rain. Zeron grasps the destroyer's sword arm, freezing it mid-arc, as blows which could pulverize a planet glance harmlessly off him. Zafral enters the combat, blasting the Odin sword from the destroyer's grasp, severing a bond thought to be unbreakable. The oversword shatters a Peruvian temple before coming to rest, while its awesome wielder at last sinks to one knee, head bowed in defeat, prayed to powers that know no equal. They gather about the fallen foe, and awaiting only a gesture from Irishem, he looks down at the ravaged hulk before him, then slowly nods his head. And the destroyer dies. Hairline seems bursting into huge cracks as the very substance dissipates. For even this supreme creation of the Allfather, whose mountainous frame could placidly withstand the explosion of a supernova, can but for mere seconds endure the incalculable impact of a combined celestial onslaught or assault. Odin's spirit and that of the Asgardians is wrenched horribly from the dying giant, set helplessly adrift, lacking a physical casing to contain it. "'Tis past all believing. The destroyer, of whom Odin was boasted was beyond harming by any force, hath been reduced to a slag of molten metal." Throughout reality, the death throes of the destroyer reverberate. Odin's peers tremble. They agreed to let Odin represent their kind, and with his passing, they too shall soon fall. If the destroyer be destroyed, what of he who did make it live? What of the Allfather? He must have died. Ye space-born killers! Ye who masquerade as celestial deities, when ye are not but murderers! Murderers! But so long as Thor doth prevail, those who persisted have a living vessel to carry out their vengeance. And so long as I hold the mallet Mjolnir, that vengeance will be most terrible for Odin, for honor, for Asgard! Splash! The Celestial's reply is swift, and mercilessly effective. Ugh! Villains, do thy worst. For every blow ye strike, Thor shall return it, doubled in power. Should it take an eternity, I will crash. Ah! I'll not die, Celestial, though it be thy fondest wish. Thy attacks strengthens my will, feeds my resolve, strokes the fire. Thor, Odin, forgive me, I have failed thee. Truly their power is beyond reckoning, but if I die, 'twill not be under the mocking shadow of Erishem. Hear me, Celestial, for too long hast thou stood above all life in thy arrogance. 'Tis time thou wert rendered a stature, and 'tis Thor who shall see to the task. With an ear-splitting crash, the mightiest weapon of Asgard shatters the twin pylons, uprooting the silent giant in a hail of stone fragments. And thus, for the first time in all his endless eons of existence, mighty Erishem is toppled. Woom! Erishem rises from the rubble, a leviathan beyond conflict. The fall was utterly inconsequential to the Supreme Celestial, not even worth the effort to prevent, for Erishem only acts if he deems it necessary. My hammer, it hath not returned to my hand, bereft of the enchantment Odin did infuse it with so long as he lived. Then there be no doubt he be dead. Yet still doth hope linger, for the awesome oversword doth lie in the reach, awaiting the strength of Thor to help fulfill its divine purpose. Thou art not rid me, Erishem, for I do carry forth the fight in which my beloved father and all my fellows perished, and on my word as the last Asgardian, their death shall not have been in vain. I will smite thee and see thee dead, for I do bear hatred for Celestial, hatred beyond all expression. And I spit upon you and your unholy judgment. Hurled by the mightiest arms in Asgard, the gleaming blade strikes its mammoth target, piercing the Celestial's chest with such force it passes completely through. Clank, shank. The effort hath stolen the last of my strength, but 'twas not enough. Though the oversword hath embedded itself in the Celestial, the giant seems unaffected. Erishem draws the sword from himself, having allowed its entry merely to better analyze its alien structure and mystical properties. The process is completed, and he considers the object's disposal. Suddenly, the substance of the oversword melts as celestial energy courses through it, and even the heinous curse of the Nebelung is exorcised in Erishem's incomprehensible way. Then he slowly wheels upon the defiant flea before him, reaching down. The battle be over, and the shadow of death overtakes me. Father, I come to join thee in Valhalla. A pinprick of light doth appear. Is it illusion I see, or... Hold, mighty one, stay your hand, and spare this my blood son. Now a figure hath appeared from the growing light, with the voice of a woman. I am the elder goddess known in all legends as Mother Earth, and I've come with an offering. She gestures, and 12 of my children, selected by the gods of this sphere from among mankind's billions. Each represents the noblest achievements, the highest ideals towards which the human race may aspire. And I offer to you, Celestials, in exchange for the life of this world. Though I love each as a child, I am willing to part with them. Odin's contribution to the 12 was gathered by the Warriors 3 in issue number 291, JS. I am the spirit of all life on earth. Throughout time, I have watched it grow and nurtured its stumbling progress, and I will not see the fruits of my labors destroyed by any force. With the power which will I aid my sons and daughters. I beseech you, take my loved ones and leave this world in peace. Consider them for your children as well, for they are cast in your image as much as my own. Let them learn the mysteries of the cosmos at your feet. Let them be as one with you and discover how much you have to learn from them, and those like them on countless earths. For what seemed like an eternity, the Celestials confer. Then Erishem steps forward and outreaches his arm dramatically. The final judgment is being reached. Earth will live. That's the best I can. Sorry if that was really loud. Sorry about that. The Celestials surround the 12 waiting mortals. Effortlessly, without the slightest display of outward power, they rise and are soon lost to the heavens above, leaving the only two behind to watch their final departure. Thou dost call me thy blood son. Yes, I am she who birthed you, Thor, for I was Odin's other wife. We agreed not to speak of our union when we departed ages ago, and so you have never known your true mother. Mother? Sleep now, my son. There will be no rejoicing for us this day. Only mourning. I, the loss of a husband, and you, the passing of a father. End. Dedicated with respect and affection to Stanley and Jack Kirby, the real Allfathers. So yeah, that was a very good story. I really enjoyed that story. But I hope you guys liked this video. Sorry it took so long to make. I had to. It was very hot out yesterday, but it's cooler out today where I live. But anyway, if you guys want me to read a specific comic, just let me know. Thank you again for the 100 subscribers. Yeah, and yeah, I'll just see you guys later.